Is anybody out there?
Oh, hang on, not quite live on everything yet. Now we are. Make sure we're live. Hi, everybody. Let's see what we got here.
We got one hey from Angry Ant.
Outstanding.
Hey.
Guffler says hello on Quest.
Good. Well, today is August the 10th, and welcome to our normal Sunday show. Looks like we got, everything up. Good to go.
Do we do anything normally?
No.
Not usually.
We don't do anything normal. It's all fine. Good to see everybody today. In fact, we'll even come on screen and be seen. How about that?
You don't have to. Nobody wants to see me anyway.
Well, yeah, nobody really wants to see you. Oh, your picture got all blurry now. There it is. Okay, that's
You
better.
did not.
Hi, everybody. Oh, we have some echoing going on.
Echo.
Let's see if that fixes it. Is that any better?
Rebel Vapor.
Yay, yay.
Yeah.
Hi, Angry Nat. Puff, puff. Rebel Vapor, good to see you. Well, that was a long
So
week.
how's
wasn't it?
everybody doing? Yes.
Well, that's good. Let's start off by talking about some of the big events from this week. What could have happened?
I have no idea.
There was that FDA thing.
Oh, yeah, that.
Oh, was that important?
Yeah.
You little.
That's what a lot of people thought. It might be important. Hopefully everybody in the room had a chance to get their comment in before the deadline.
At least one.
Well, there actually were a few places even offering some rewards for people that posted their comments. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So.
Yeah, I saw I think Tucson Vape Escape was actually given a discount for everybody that had a comment code.
That's great.
Yeah, they're great people.
You know, we probably should start off with our local wrap-up right quick, not just let people know what's going on.
Well, yeah. I mean, we want everybody to know that just because the FDA comment thing closed, we still are looking for people to stand up. Let's see. In no particular order and in not chronological order, we have Louisville, Colorado on September 16th, and this is actually part 2. Part 1, some guys that we know went and stood in front of the Louisville City Council. They had discussed a public ban and age restriction, and they essentially went up and discussed their thoughts on the matter and took some science, some studies that we had given them, and the City Council decided they would postpone a vote until September 16th, which would give them time to read that material. So September 16th in Louisville at the City Hall, they're going to have another discussion and possibly a vote. So all you guys that went the first time and anybody else that's in that area that wants to go, you can look on the City Council website and see what time the meeting is. I don't have that exact time. We have South Bend, Indiana, and that is September 14th. This is a public ban and age restriction, so we need people in Indiana to go. And if you need any help, just email us or contact us, and we can get you the information that we can.
before you go any further in that, I guess a lot of people don't know what we actually give to a local group when something like this comes up. And one of the first thing we do is we take a look at the ordinance, and we give them some information about what testimony seems to be effective, and then we send them a real nice packet of information that they're able to take into the city council. So please, if you find yourself in a situation that you're facing something in your area, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I have a quite extensive library on my computer of old and new scientific studies on vaping, on air quality, on the ingredients, everything that I can possibly find. And we look at what they, like the wording of the actual ordinance is, and if there's anywhere we can put a toe in, we will send information that, you know, gives them an area that they can dispute or agree with, you know. Because sometimes, you know, we definitely want to support age restriction. I mean, you know, that's something that we definitely back. So we never ever argue about that. It's always the, you know, the public ban. What is the secondhand exposure? Anything like that, we can definitely help you with.
And one of the big things that we always try to talk about when when we're talking about a public ban is making sure that if the council has its mind made up that, you know, this is something that the public needs because they don't want somebody eating a hamburger and ending up with vape in their face, and it's kind of hard to argue that point because people have no manners. But the one thing we want to make sure we do is get that sampling exemption in place so that people can go to a vape shop and be able to test the fluids and stuff like that. So
yeah, and also, you know, there are going to be ones that are just, no matter what we do, you know, we had one last year, well, earlier on this year in Texas, where they didn't even want any vape shops to remain open in their city limits, and we were still able to talk them out of that. So I think, you know, with the right amount of information and getting people that can go and represent in a respectful way, then yeah, we definitely, you know, one of the other angles that we've used in the past is financial issues and how much money a business actually brings to the city. So that's when you need the vendors to actually, you know, kind of gang up together and bring in, you know, some information on how much money they make for the city.
Yeah, that information is so critical so they can anticipate taxes, sales tax, and things like that that are going to be going through that they're going to be giving up on. So,
so the next one, Holbrook, Massachusetts, on August 19th. We're still waiting on the text for this. We've been waiting for about a week now. We haven't. They haven't posted it anywhere on the website, and this might be one where they try to post it the date of the vote. But we need to keep people aware of what's going on in Massachusetts, because Mass seems to be the next hotbed. We've had 3 ongoing for the past 2 weeks. We had one last week that I still haven't even been able to get the minutes from that meeting to find out what happened, whether that was just a public hearing or what.
And we've also had in Massachusetts, we had there was a state bill that came up and was very quickly defeated because it was just written in a bad manner. So sometimes they shoot their own selves in the foot just by the way they write them.
Yeah. And North Andover, Massachusetts, and this one we don't have an exact date. We know that it's going to happen in September, so we need people in that area to either go to the city hall and find out what you know, if they haven't posted at city hall, because it's not on the website.
And ask your city council members. Feel free to direct, send them an email or make an appointment. Go down and see them.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, if you respectfully go in and ask for an appointment prior to, and you bring the information with you, it's always gives them time to read it. You know, you can express your concerns and, you know, explain to them what vaping has done for you. I always say that. Explain what it's done for you.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
how big of an impact it's had on a personal level as an individual. Now, if you're a shop owner, then, you know, obviously you have different concerns. And this is one of the things we have different issues that we can hit as an individual versus different issues that we can hit as a business.
Yep.
And as an individual person, you are able to make statements that a business can't make. So this is
Talk
why we
about
need
that a little.
All right. So Baltimore, Maryland, and this is pretty far out, so we have some time. This is October 7th. And this is going to be at the Baltimore City Hall. And this is a big one because Baltimore is not a small town, people.
Yep.
So we need anybody and everybody. If you know somebody near Baltimore, you know, anywhere in the Washington, D.C., Silver Spring, Maryland, Leesburg, Virginia, anywhere, you know, within an hour's drive of Baltimore, this is going to have something that can impact you. I mean, because that is a very... I mean, there's, you know, D.C., Baltimore, Pennsylvania, all those are real close together. Virginia, in that, you know, multi-state area, you can be across the border from Maryland and be in Virginia in 30 minutes, you know. So
It's shorter than that. It's shorter than that.
Yeah, you can get a lot of response. We should be able to get a bunch of people to attend this Baltimore thing.
And there's our friend Alex, who is joining us.
Alex. Alex.
Hi guys.
Yeah.
We were
won't
afraid
mention
that
that
you
he's
had
late.
divorced
I mean-
us.
Oh no.
I'm sure it was the passion that you put that comment in that did it.
Mm-mm. No, I'm not ashamed to share. I had to run back to Pennsylvania to attend kind of a memorial service for a friend.
Oh, goodness.
Sorry.
Hope that went
And
well.
it did actually went really well. It was more of sort of a celebration of his life.
Works.
That's nice.
It's a group of people that were, you know, at one point a second family to me. So we were up very, very late shooting the shit, and so I'm tired.
Oh, we do appreciate you joining us, Alex.
Yep. Yeah, we're always happy you're here.
So what I miss?
Oh, we're just doing the rundown on locals.
So what else? There's one more. Carlsbad, New Mexico, and that is in 2 days, Tuesday. And this is actually set for adoption on that day. And this is a true public ban, age restriction. I'm not even 90% sure, but they might not even have a sampling exemption in this one.
They do not, and it's round 3 on this one, and we've tried a couple of times, but they just don't. It's one of those councils that's not responding. So might be another chance for vape shops to go in there and explain to them that you're going to be sending dollars and cents right out of the city. And then we have Culver City also coming up on Monday.
Yeah.
So it's Culver City, California. So we like to rally some support out there for those guys. And Tupelo, Mississippi. Also, we've been working with those people in there. And if you're anywhere near Tupelo area, they would sure like some support. Not a whole lot of vapors in that area, so the shop owners in that area would love to see some bodies come down and help.
Yeah, I've noticed we've had a huge influx, and the other day I think we added, yesterday possibly, something like 30 members from Mississippi on the Facebook group.
Yeah, easily.
There was a bunch from Mississippi.
And then the first part of the week we had kind of some good news from a little town in Plano, Texas.
Big news.
Yep. Plano contacted us, and this particular situation is Plano was about, what, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, that they passed their public ban and a moratorium on sampling, specific moratorium on sampling, and that anyone that was not open by such and such date would not receive that exemption. And so the vape shop owner had called us, and we sent some information, and we talked to them about some ways to approach it, and they went in and talked to the city planner, and city planner said that the resolution's what it is. So the next step was they went and talked to the city council and got an interesting response. The city council was not aware that that was causing that problem. Thought that was kind of an interesting response to be given.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a definite win for us. They got their shop, they got permission to continue open, to finish opening their shop, so.
Well, it's, I've said before, a lot of times with some of these that have gone through at the local level, the person that sits on a city council is not a professional politician. This is someone who comes from another walk of life and has jumped in to do something for his community. And sometimes that particular advantage, that's an advantage to us, because when you go in there speaking reasonable and with information that shows that it has an impact on the community, they listen.
Yeah.
And regretfully, the opposite is also true.
Especially when it's these, I hate to say it, but the smaller cities don't get the attention from the alphabet soup, and they don't always have representation there to whisper into the ears of these city council people and tell them all these scientifically inaccurate statements. In the big cities.
There's two
San Diego.
In chat I want to bring up. What about local? What about looking at your local representative to find out who smokes or vapes, obviously, and speaking to them about vaping? You might end up creating a local advocate for yourself. And we saw that even in the mess that happened in San Diego. There was a voice that was dissenting all the way through, and she was a vapor herself. So, yeah, we've seen that. And then the other comment that's in chat is, well, if they don't know all there is about the industry, they have no business passing laws about them. I would love to agree with you. I would love to agree with you and jump all over that bandwagon. However, let's apply a little reason. In all likelihood, no politician in existence understands the complexity of all the laws set in front of him.
Yeah.
And to which I bring up the following point. They don't know, so when you don't respond and you don't go down to City Hall and inform them, you are making the mistake. They are not. So that's something to think about. So I tried to be nice. Sometimes I am.
Yeah. No,
Sometimes
I mean, obviously there are laws passed on every level, and unless the politician is, a PhD candidate in every field, then obviously they don't have the opportunity to know everything there is to know about every industry that they have to pass laws on. That's why they have people. They have people like me who do research for them and tell them what the relevant information is about.
Not everybody's like you
particular
right
thing.
now.
Exactly. Sometimes it hurts being right all the time.
I know. It's a burden that you bear quite well for us.
It must be hard for him. What do you think?
Alex, with the exception of the thing that you know I'm going to have fun with today, obviously.
I don't know.
Oh, come on. The thing I was ranting about this morning. The Attorney
I think I
General.
know. Yeah, okay.
Other than that, let's is there anything else on the CASAS slate that you'd care to clue us in on? I know a lot of people are in kind of a weird situation. They've submitted their comment and they were passionate, and they've got all this passion built up about that comment that they wrote. And now what do they do?
Well, if you followed the directions, you saved your comment in a Word document or some sort of copy and pastable form, and then we'll be putting together an opportunity for you to send that to your Congress people. I guess probably this coming week. I'm not exactly sure what's happening first. But I know that there's a couple of CQ roll call campaigns in the pipeline.
So at this point, not only is our comment going to be going to the FDA as it was needed, but we're looking at sending them out to the senators so that they can understand what our point is with this. Because I know a lot of us probably put things in there like I did, telling the FDA that they've exceeded their authority. Even though Congress gave them that authority, we still feel that they have exceeded it. So.
Yeah, and even if people used a different kind of set of directions in order to submit their comment, I would encourage people somehow to find a way to get a hold of your comment and participate in this campaign.
Yep.
Yeah. You may have to adjust it here and there a few places to make it, but I mean, I've been using the same one I wrote a letter originally when this first, became an itching in the back of people's minds that I've been sending to every politician in Texas. And then when we started doing the call to actions, I just would add things here and there, and now it's pretty well written now. It's not super long because I've been able to edit here and there to make it viable. And if you make it too long, nobody's gonna freaking read it anyway.
I think so. I believe that.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth mentioning that our congressmen and women are not necessarily bound to the same requirements that the FDA was claiming, and that they will read every comment. So yeah, that's a good point, and make sure that it is readable.
Before we go very far, let's talk a little bit about comments. And I know we tried to talk a lot about comments, but now that people have made them, there's a lot of people who've been very vocal on the quality and quantity of the comments that were made, and even to the point of saying that individuals, we saw some comments that people posted that were in excess of 100 pages when printed, and there were a few people whose comment was about 5 paragraphs. I felt I had all to say. I got everything I needed out in my 5 paragraphs. Now, I have submitted other comments on specific items, but this was kind of the general one for me. And I don't feel that, I think people think that, if it wasn't that long or wasn't that detailed, that it might not make a difference.
That's not true.
Yeah, I don't think that at all.
Let's roll it around the room. What do you think, Knock?
No, I mean, I definitely think if you write a respectful letter, giving your point of view, quoting whatever science that you're able to quote, like, for example, my letter, I attached about 10 different studies to mine. And that's just, those are basically bits and pieces of data that they can use. My letter, though, did not really and truly quote anything outside of my level of expertise, because I'm not a doctor, so there's no way that I can testify on the level of a doctor. But I did have the relevant data to send them from the people that are, educated above me that can do that. I gave my personal story, how it has affected me, what choices I needed to make, in flavors and hardware and things like that to make this a viable substitute. And, respectfully asked for them to use a little bit of sense when they came up with their final regulations.
Robin, how about you?
Mine, like yours, and I saw yours, wasn't real long, but basically, I thought it was more about the quality of what I was saying than the quantity of the words, to be honest with you. And I didn't feel like doing something really long. I didn't feel like I needed to. But basically, it was like, who I am, where I've come from, where I am now, where I'd like to be, and can I please take the flavors with me? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty much that's pretty much it. Like, love Robin. I mean, it was pretty matter of fact, that just a paragraph on each of those things pretty much. And that was it. A little bit of a study thing just because of the nurse thing, I couldn't help it. But not a bunch of stuff. And by the time I was done with it, it was maybe 5-6 paragraphs and an attachment. That's it.
I would like to say that mine stayed in a pleasant tone, but
yours was nice.
I tried with great effort to remove the sarcastic attitude that I usually have. I was somewhat successful. There were a few comments in there, but where I really focused my attention was, just like the FDA, when they wrote these, there were some questions that they felt they needed answers. And that was kind of where I went with mine. There were some questions as a consumer that I wanted to know what the FDA was doing in my concern, because their actions weren't showing it. And I felt that was the way to go. Alex, would you like to comment on your personal comment?
Sure. I don't know if you guys got a chance to read it. I posted it around. But I regretfully kind of figured out the tack I wanted to take at some point, I think late Wednesday, early Thursday, before the deadline. I knew I wanted to comment on the addiction warning aspect of things. So I spoke from my own personal experience in recovery, and felt that it was important to, highlight kind of one of the underappreciated aspects of the vaping community, which, is, to quote my comment, is probably best described as an informal support network for recovering smokers. It's not the same experience as going into the rooms of AA and going through a 12-step program or having some sort of structured kind of group counseling session, but there is a lot of support amongst people in the vaping community to stay smoke-free. And it's, when we talk about addiction, I personally I resent the demonization that addiction and addiction recovery has kind of received. One of the first things I heard when I was in recovery was that I would make substantially less money in my lifetime, even if I was in recovery. And because I was a recovering alcoholic, that I would be left out of important kind of after-hours conversations that happened, because, you can go out for drinks with the boys and, the boss is out there and there are, advancement opportunities that you could be a part of. Just little things like that kind of stuck with me. Overall, I think that, there's a harm to even something as simple as all tobacco products are equally as addictive or equally as harmful. Even using the word addiction as a way to kind of imply harm, I think that does some damage to the general understanding of what addiction is and how we treat it. I think it takes away from that conversation, and I tried my best to really put that in. It was impossible at that point to really hunt down a lot of sources, so I really did kind of have to speak from my own experience. But yeah.
Pardon me. That's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that with us, Alex. One of the comments that's in the room was, and I'm going to I'm going to tell you now, Val, I'm going to hit this with a glancing blow and run right away from it, okay? Whatever the method that anyone used to put something in front of the FDA, it's done, it's over with, and the validity of that action is at this point not even a consequence. What I'm more concerned with is, of those people who made that comment, my hope is that they will rally with the rest of us and continue to fight this out from this day forward. And that's really all I want to cover on anything to do with the different methods that were used. As long as people realize there's a problem and are stepping up to the plate, hey, that's what needs to happen. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me. I'll throw it up there. What do you think, Knock? You like that answer?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been saying the whole time, and we even wrote a blog, I think it was entitled Every Weapon in the Arsenal. Mm-hmm. And we are going to use everything that we can to defeat our enemy. And if that is a website that, you know, does the formatting of the document for you and, you know, prints it out and somebody sends it to the FDA or to your congressman or whatever, that's fine. At least people are doing something. There's been a lot of, you know, back and forth in the community about petitions or whatever, and people are upset or whatever. You know what? This part of the fight is now over. What we have to do from this point forward is move on to the next fight, which is going to be the local and state fights for 2015. We can't take our eyes off the prize because the FDA issue is now put to bed on our level until the final rules are released.
I mean, there's going to be a couple of ways we can wedge a couple of little comments and positions in, but truthfully, at this point, the fate of the industry is in the hands of the vendors. And we'll come back to that later also. Robin, you want to throw something in on that one? Hang on, I'll get you, Alex.
I agree with what you said, you know. I think it makes sense. Just if people got their comment in, I'm just glad they did it because, you know, to some people it seemed daunting when they looked at it. It seemed like such a difficult thing to do. So no matter how they did it, as long as they did it, I'm happy, to be honest with you. You know.
And Alex, you can put either hat on.
Well, just it doesn't really matter what I'm going to say. I didn't get to. I was spent so much time talking about my own pitiful comment that I didn't talk about my favorites. I think obviously I'm partial to the Cassaw comment.
Well, we're going to come back to that right after this.
But yeah, no, it is to the point of you know, I think what you were talking about, the quality of people's comments and so on. Probably one of my favorite comments is there's no real paragraph structure to it, but it came from somebody's mother, and this mother still smokes, but her daughter and her daughter's husband have stopped smoking with the help of electronic cigarettes, and it was very short. I mean, I don't even know if it was maybe 100 words, but very short, sweet, to the point, and it when I read it, I got a little misty. So
I love that.
You know, everybody's comment counts. Even if I'm curious to see how, you know, campaign-like letters get treated. It's very likely it gets turned into one comment, but it's somewhere in there. There's going to be that kind of aside of, you know, we all know what I'm talking about. 41,000 of these are one comment, but it's still going to show that number. So it's still important. And again, to what you were saying here is, it may, I think, feel the bulk of this FDA stuff is kind of over for us as consumers, but as voters, we are certainly going to take the opportunity to hold the agency's feet to the fire and make sure that that none of our comments are just dismissed. And I think that there's a certain maybe there might very well be a dollar amount somewhere that makes comments more dismissible. That's the fear, I think. That's a very rational fear for people to have. But yeah, we need to hold people accountable to the process.
Yeah. And, you know, people were in here talking about how many comments there were made. That number's not actually accurate. There were 75,000 comments as of the closing of the docket. However, there were, well, none of the 6 comments that I made have been added yet. So they're still going, that number's going to go up. And then you do have that mass of 41,000 to be added also. So this is going to reach up into the, say, over 100,000 comments. I read an article earlier, and they were just talking about the sheer number that had already been posted was one of the top 3 or 4 of these FDA comment dockets that had ever been recorded.
And let's not forget that was in a very short period compared to many of the other comment periods the FDA has used.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, the nicotine, or not the nicotine, the menthol to comment period was much longer, and yeah, that comment that was the highest. So I think that we might be able to claim a record by the end of the day when everything gets counted and they start actually processing these. We might find out that that number is going to be much higher. But this is the time where we have to start as consumers supporting those.
We'll get there. After this question, after we take our next little topic, we will be going into what's next. I promise. But there's one other thing I want to bring out before we get to what's next. And unusually, because we have the show and I've got the mic, I get to make the first comment on this. I personally would like to thank Dr. Carl Phillips for the incredible work that he did in the CASA comment. I can tell you this much, as an advocate, I'm going to be working from the framework that he put out for the next year. There are so many wonderful points in there that I can grab one point and go play with it. And I really do appreciate the fact that he personally spent the time to do that. And did you want to add any comments on that before we turn it over to Alex? Because he's going to talk.
Well, no. Carl's just awesome. I don't have anything to say about Carl. His stuff is amazing, and yeah, that's going to be a really good roadmap.
And Alex, the CASA comment.
Oh man, I want to read it many times over again. I think I feel the same way you guys do. I feel privileged to have had the opportunity to scan through it several times and look for typos and strange little errors. I actually only had the chance to read it one time, end to end before we submitted it. But yeah, it's I hope that someone at the FDA realizes what it is and takes it as seriously as it needs to be taken.
Okay, and Let me find the
and
link
there
for
are,
that.
I think that there's obviously other agencies, OMB and OIRA, that need to pay attention to it very strongly. And we are, I think we've taken, I don't want to do it any discredit by trying to boil it down, but there is sort of an overall theme here that I haven't read Safada's comment. I did start reading Amos's comment, and I didn't read the ABA's comment, but I think that there is an overall theme here that if the FDA is going to do the right thing, they need to take the current rule down and start over.
Yeah.
And include us in their draft proposal of any rule, and then reopen the comment period. And if they want to do the right thing, they will bring us all to the table. And that's clearly not what they've done with this proposal.
And I did put in chat, and mind you, the actual comment, the actual PDF file, is substantial. It is a substantial work, but it is broken down very cleanly. It's not something that you have to take in a full bite. There is plenty of nibbles that you can look at through this, and I do encourage you to take your time. And we're going to be using this data from time to time because we felt the structure was very, very good.
Yeah, we've received some feedback from people that yes, the language is correct, the way that it's written, and everything really does achieve our goal of laying the groundwork for future legal action.
So with that, let's talk about the future. Let's talk a little bit about the future. Let's talk about, well, you've already given us some of the CASA roadmap already, Alex, right? In that this is going to be going, we're going to take our comments and go back to Congress, and some people made a special comment, so they're getting some special attention. Is there anything else you can disclose at this point?
Well, not that I don't think there's anything I can't disclose. It's very similar. The actions kind of after this end of the comment period this is all very similar to what we've been going through for the past few months. It's a somewhat fluid situation, and so we have things that we know that we need to do, and we know that we're going to find out stuff, in a couple of months, within the next year, and that we will need to react to, and possibly we'll have the opportunity to get out in front of stuff. But yeah, I think you summed it up good. We've got a couple of CQ roll call campaigns coming, and we'll start with that.
Sounds like a winner. I know Knock and I have been talking about what do we do now, and one of the things that we have been focusing on, or intend to focus on from the militia standpoint, is the fact that this came about did identify something very clearly. If not government-imposed regulation, let's face it, people, there is some very drastically needed self-regulation that needs to be put into place. And we all know what those items are. And as we go along, we'll help you guys when we're isolating on certain ones. But I mean, let's just stay with some generalities for the moment. We need to have some kind of labeling restriction, something that tells us what really belongs on a bottle. We need to have good, safe manufacturing practices. We need to make efforts to ensure that we're not actually doing what we've been accused of, and that is marketing to those individuals that are not of age. So those are some things that are there. And there's also a little bit of a controversial one here in the United States, and that is businesses are forbidden because of a law, because of a decision made in court, to make health claims. This is a fact. We can't do anything about it. It's already happened. Okay? So as consumers, in order to provide that voice to the industry, it falls to us. Costello, CQ Roll Call is a program that, based on your zip code, when you enter something into a form, it will send the response to a designated official, say like your state representative or your federal representatives in Washington, depending upon how CASA sets it up. Is that a good quick answer for that?
Yeah.
Alex?
I'm sorry, I was reading chat.
The question is, what is CQ Roll Call? It's based on your zip code. It sends a response to a public official that's designated for you, depending on whether it's state level or federal level, as you guys have set it up.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can select. I mean, sometimes there are certain things where we've set it up to, it goes to the AG, the governor, the lieutenant governor, your House representatives, your state Senate representatives, and you can kind of select which ones you want to send it to.
And you guys do that on the back end, though. We don't actually do the selection. You guys do the picking.
Well, there's little check boxes actually on the right hand corner. So if you don't feel that you want to send this letter to somebody, then you can just uncheck it. But we put it up there. Everything is checked.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think there's only one. Actually, that might have been in New Jersey where that happened. So maybe other states haven't seen it yet. But
Okay.
Yeah, it's an option.
So from where I was going here was, so we know these things exist. So what is our responsibility as consumers now? Well, we need to help the industry get online. Plain and simple. So if you see this and you are not happy with the compliance that a particular vendor has with this, inform them. Talk to them. Be nice at first.
I prefer have a conversation.
Have a
Let's have a
conversation.
conversation
Well, yeah. That's why we bring you along for that kinder, gentler side. I'm not known for it. Dragging them across the counter and telling them do it right or the industry's over is not your job. Did I say that right?
That works.
Okay, I wasn't insinuating that you do it. Really. But the idea here is we really do need to work on this industry and help them do the right thing. And there are a number of people who are uninformed. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me for the particular instance that I'm going to tell you about. But I went into one of my favorite vape shops on Thursday and had sat down and was having a vape, as I always do. And I looked up at the manager and said, "My friend, it's been an awesome run and I won't be back." And he was like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, you have those cute little crushed cigarette packs taped to your wall, and that is a health claim. And you know what? I don't think you need to be doing that."
I actually beg to differ with that.
Now, there's some people who may find that to be a bit extreme. But what I'm thinking, and this is my thought only, is if we as consumer are doing our jobs, they don't have to. Let them stay within the letter of the law for right now so that they have nothing to get pointed at about. Let them do the right thing. And I'll throw this around the room. Knock, what do you think?
I know a lot of shops actually have been giving discounts to people that'll come in and smash a pack of cigarettes, and they'll give them a discount or whatever. And for marketing, you know what? As long as there's not somebody being quoted in the local newspaper, I'm not as aggressive, but yes, they are indeed, that technically is making a claim that it is a smoking cessation device, which definitely goes right against the Satera decision. I mean, even if it's an implied thing, it can still go that way.
Robin?
I agree with Knock, and while I think you could interpret it a couple different ways, if it implies that it's specifically, that vaping is specifically for, smoking cessation, or that you're going obviously from one thing to the other because you want to stop doing this and you want to start doing this, instead of just an alternative. Do you know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's like a fine line, but I guess you get what I'm saying. But when you have crushed up cigarette packs, it's like you're saying, okay, I'm quitting smoking because I'm going to do this instead, and it's all right there in front of you, then to me that's a health claim. Yeah, I agree. And I don't think it's appropriate for them. No, I don't.
Alex, I hope you got a different opinion.
Actually.
Yay!
And
Alex, Alex.
I think it may very, very well be in line with my comment. I think it's unfortunate that the law constrains vendors from stating the obvious about their product, which is, we've had some discussion about this, but vendors in the future, if this proposal passes, wouldn't be able to say things like smoke-free electronic cigarettes, because that is kind of a health claim, because it sends the message that these devices might be less harmful than smoking cigarettes. I kind of see it as if, soda company A ran a campaign to switch you away from soda company B, and you would bring in crushed up full cans of soda company B to soda company A's stand at the fair, and in exchange for that, they'd give you a 6-pack of soda company A, and they would take those claimed cans from that other company and display them and say, look at all the people that abandoned this brand for our superior product. I kind of think that argument could be made absent of any health claim, and I think that I think I had to have taken my CASA hat off at some point before this, but I think that again goes back to, one of the things that I said in my comment was that I remember accounts of vendors. I remember reading things about vendors in New Jersey who were online exclusive, or they had it set up that you could kind of swing by their facility at a certain time of the day and pick up supplies. But there were accounts of people who they were going to run out, and it was after 5 o'clock. There's no way they're going to put an order in, and if they don't get their stuff tonight, they're going to have to go buy a pack of cigarettes. And they would call up the vendor and say, can you please help? And I think without even batting an eye, the vendor said, yes, I will meet you in 30 minutes at this address, and I will have cartomizers and batteries and liquid for you. And to me, that is the very human support network that we have in the vaping community. And I think that a new vapor turning around from the counter at a vape shop and seeing a display of many, many packs of cigarettes nailed to the wall, I think is a powerful reinforcement for them that says, yeah, you can do this, you can stay smoke-free. And I understand that it bumps up against a health claim, but it's still, I think, an important element, and it's something that has come from the community. As long as that vendor is not turning around and saying, come to my store, we have a nicotine step-down program, or we have, a total cessation package for you. I think we might be able to argue that some positive reinforcement is just that, and not a health claim.
Well, I think we can argue it, but the problem is I don't have the confidence that you do that they will. That's my problem. And I'm suddenly saying that simply because referring to the comment in the room. It says, okay, I've got a question of juice makers in the industry. Should we not automatically consider them at least knowledgeable in the industry, and that if that conclusion is drawn, what conclusions are we to draw when we see in-house juice items and properly labeled and packaged? And the bottom line is, I hate to say it this way, there are some people in this industry that their focus is on their across the counter. That's it. They really, I've actually been, I mean, if you, like I said, in the past week, I've been in a vape shop that did not even know the FDA comment existed. Yes. Did not even know that it existed.
Not
Scary.
Not just raising his hand.
What's that?
I had my hand up.
Okay, Knock, go ahead.
Actually, we have, and this is the part where we are going to have to put our big boy pants on. There are a lot of vendors in this industry that really are nothing more than hobbyists. People that either picked up a mod and some juice and said, wow, and it worked for them, and they said, I can do this, and they went on the internet and learned how to DIY and, you know, made a good juice or whatever, and a lot of people started buying it, and then they decided, I'm going to open a store, and didn't put the due diligence into finding out what it is to be a responsible person in any industry. I, you know, went to our local shop the other day, and thank the, you know, whatever God is in the sky, they had enough sense when they got into the business that they were not going to make juice, but buy juice and sell juice from wholesalers. But when I walked into the store on Thursday and said, oh, have you guys made your comment to the FDA? They're like, what comment to the FDA? And I was just like, the comment period ends Friday night at 11:59. You need to go on there, read the docket, and put in a comment on how you want to save your business, and then every employee in this business needs to go and make a comment, and then everybody that you sell juice to needs to go in and make a comment. But I mean, and I had thought these guys were relatively smart. I mean, they were in other industries before they jumped into this. But yeah, no, there are people out there in this industry that are hobbyists that decided they would go into business. And when it comes down to, you know, these kind of issues, they're just not experienced in this field of, you know, having oversight and having rules that they have to follow. And, you know, there are plenty of guys out there still selling juice with a regular twist top.
And the comments in the room have already been reflecting, you know, that's the best weapon we have in this is our own money as a consumer. You buy and do your business with those people who you feel are supporting this industry. And you tell others about that person who you feel is supporting this industry. And it's time that as consumers we make that very clear to vendors that this is how we are going to do business now. And you know, some people are going to get offended. There are people who are going to make the comment that, hey, you know, I know what I'm doing. I've been in business for 4 years. I've been in business for 3 years. Who are you to tell me how to make the juice or do this or do that or do the other? Well, the comment to that is, are you paying attention to what's going on? Are you reading what's going down, you know, and you'll get your answer.
Yeah, and this is the part where we still get to retain our voice when it comes to these FDA regulations. You know, from Friday night at 11:59 on, this is in the hands of the industry, but we have the power as consumers to make them fall in line by only doing business with the people that are doing it right.
I would like to offer kind of maybe a cynical
Feel free.
perspective on
Go for
Man, another one?
Sorry. You know, I'm trying to really find the words for it, but there is a small percentage of money-paying vaping consumers out there that actually understand the issues. Or, I'm sorry, I should put it this way, small percentage that are aware of the issues. There's an even smaller percentage of that understand the issues. And an even smaller percentage of that are active in participating at any level, even at the level of telling a vendor, stop making health claims, start labeling your juices correctly, and maybe I'll come back and shop here. And I think that there are, another type of vendor that we have is kind of the serial entrepreneurs who, are looking at the financial analysis of something like this and saying, yeah, I can quit this stay-at-home office job that I've grown bored with and open up an e-cig shop. And they're looking at things just strictly by the spreadsheets and the numbers and following some industry tips and tricks and learning how to be profitable. And those people are going to, continue to get the new customer in the door that's going to keep their lights on and make them some sort of a profit without any attention paid to advocacy or the issues whatsoever. So, maybe that's the end of my cynical rant. The upside is, that it really falls on us as the engaged advocates to get the word out to as many vapors as possible and bring everybody else along, that was kind of one of my difficult realizations, I think, over the past few days, was that, I think within our group of people who are actively engaged, we tend to see how hard everyone is working, and I think they're, at least from my perspective, I tend to end up in sort of a closed circuit kind of broadcast view of the issues, and I tend to lose sight of the fact that there are 2 million people out there using e-cigs, and I try to not let it blow me away that so few people participate. But yeah, I think there's something to be said for one of the areas our efforts should be focused on is outreach to people that don't know.
Imagine that. Next on my list.
I didn't even know it was magic, man. I didn't even know that was coming up.
Which brings
our show notes.
Which brings me to my segue for the next topic that I want to discuss is we as vapors have made a few mistakes, and I'm going to have to call people out on it. We have created a group of people that very frequently do a certain activity or do something in a certain way that we need to question a little bit. For example, if you see someone that is using a Cig-a-Lite, well, they're not a real vapor. They don't have a mind. Or if you see someone smoking, well, I got to get that person off of those cigarettes. Well, let's not forget that some of us took a very long road to get to where we're at. Okay? And if we start ostracizing those people who are still smoking, Are we really doing what we should be doing? I mean, here's the bottom line, and I'll just put it out there. This is the answer to a tobacco-free world. It's a true statement. Of course, depends upon the definition, correct? But maybe a combustible tobacco.
Smoking free.
Smoke-free world?
There you go.
As he drags the other hat out.
That was full t-shirt and blazer.
Oh, that was t-shirt and blazer on that one. I understand. So the Schmo, it is a. Thank you very much. That is a health comment, sir. And you know why it's a health comment? I'm just a damn vapor. I don't sell shit. And there ain't nobody that can stop me from making that health comment. There is no law in place to prevent it. Thank you much.
I don't think I've ever gotten $1 for being a vapor, so I can say it too.
There you go. So how do we do the outreach? That's kind of the puzzle, and this is impromptu, so you have to think a little bit. How do we do the outreach? How do we get out of the box we're in? What do we need to do next as vapors? Robin, you have any ideas?
I do not. You know, we spend a lot of time doing
I know you have one.
What?
You were in the board meeting. I know you have one.
You know, I don't know. You guys keep hearing me say this for the last couple of days. I'm really just frustrated with the whole thing. I'm frustrated with the vendors right now, and I think we need to work harder at getting them to get off their asses and move. I think a lot more of them should have done comments than there were that actually did them. So to me, that was just disappointing and disheartening. And I think we need to get after them and make them, you know, pull their big boy pants up and get moving too. That's what I think.
Knock, what do you think?
Well, we spent a lot of time on our radio broadcast on Friday discussing my thoughts on the matter. In a less angry tone, I will say, we need that claimed self-regulation that we've been claiming for the last, year, 2 years. That we actually need to be that self-regulated industry. As consumers, we need to support the people that are doing the work, and as the consumers, we need to focus a different way. We haven't been reaching the state and local level politicians well. We haven't been even addressing the federal guys well. We need to build a better way of making those contacts, and that's what the CQ roll calls hopefully will do for us, is give us the opportunity to address them in a direct way.
Alex?
Well, I think when I was talking about outreach was to the consumers. I was listening to the radio show on Friday and really appreciated a lot of the discussion there, and there were some specific points that were brought up in chat. Yeah, I don't want to rehash everything, but Knocked, I think your account of walking into the cigar store and seeing, that was yours, right? Yeah, seeing the poster from the cigar rights or cigar industry people, something like that. And everybody knows that the cigar folks they generated a lot of comments. I think there may be some debate as to how useful all of them are, but at the end of the day, they really, they kind of stole the show a little bit as far as volume is concerned. But I think as organizations, I think we need to kind of contemplate other ways to reach people. Obviously, for us, there's a financial constraint, so we're sort of relegated to using mediums that are free or inexpensive. It's something that we're, I think, each individually going to have to bring up in our own board meetings, is to, Do we need to run an advertising campaign? Do we need to pay to have letters published in newspapers? Do we need to run to the print shop and make those posters? These are all valid questions to think about.
I'll disclose something that was brought up at the militia board meeting, our weekly meeting, where we try to look at, number one, if we're being productive, and number two, where can we be productive next. And a resolution was brought in front of the board that as of January, the militia itself will not use its funds to go to vape meets at all. If anyone wants us at a vape meet, then the vendors in that area or the organizers of that event will have to cover the expenses to bring us in. And the reason why we've made that decision is because we will use our funds to go to general audience events, those events that are not designated specifically for vapors. We actually feel that if we get out in the general public and tell the general public what's going on, that there may be some people who garner their sympathy towards us, and this is our chance to reach out to the smokers that are out there and the Stigalite crowd and the people that we don't see by staying in vape shows, vape meets, and vape expos. So we think that it's time to take our plight out to the general public. So that's what we've thought about doing. And we hope other people follow our lead and jump out there. So, any militia, what's this? Anyone who talks is going to be in this month. I'm sorry, we don't have anybody up in the Washington area, but it is on our list of places to visit. It's the one area we haven't been up in is Washington, Oregon area. But I do know we want to get up in that way. We're going to be down in the southeast. Upcoming events for us, Vape Blast San Antonio, Texas next week. In fact, sorry to say, guys, I know you guys love the show. We won't be here next week. There are 4 people from the militia on the ground at shows, so guess what? We're not going to be able to do it. So it just can't clone ourselves. But we'll also be at Vapapalooza in Atlanta. And someone was asking about Utah. Utah has a very good structured Utah Vapors. Mr. Aaron Frazier runs it. If you're wanting to get active in the Utah area, Aaron does it. Aaron has a great group. Let's see. So, yep, you can check our advocacy map. It has a lot of those groups listed. We've actually got a couple we need to update. I just remembered that. So let's go to that, to an interesting topic in the news. 26 of the attorney generals decided to send a letter to the FDA. Now, I don't know if this went through the method of comment or if it was a direct letter to the FDA. I was too pissed off to read that details. Anyone know the answer to that question?
No.
No? Well, I'm gonna assume, because they're attorney generals and don't play by the rules. Let's say for a moment that they did submit it. Well, as a group of attorneys, if as a group they're making a comment to the FDA, well, I'm glad that they decided to band together and make a comment, which means they are personally responsible for the comment that they made as individuals, which means I am personally responsible to let them know what I think. And if they didn't go through the comment process, even doubly, because now they're sticking their fingers into something that I find very interesting. Now, the content of that request that they made, Knock, what did you get when you were looking at it? When you were looking at what they said?
I was kind of interested because there seems to be a lot of information there that appears they did little or no research.
Okay. They did go for a youth ban,
But,
which
you know,
which in the letter that I'm going to write to a few of these attorney generals, I'm going to thank them for understanding that we agree with that particular stance. But then they went further. They went towards flavors and online sales, which to me looked like they were really looking at the big question of taxes. Now, last time I checked, attorney generals and taxes, they're responsible for existing laws if the taxes aren't getting collected. But where do they get involved in the proposing portion? You know,
when it comes to tobacco.
there's a historic, precedent, sir.
so let's go back. Let's go to the assumption of, let's not forget that the attorney generals were the fellows who helped us establish the master settlement agreement. That's their claim to fame, isn't it? Now let's look how well they handled that. Does it do anything that it was intended?
No.
No.
I think they've got some. I don't know the MSA as well as I should at this point, but yeah, they've managed to come through with their own. They've just used the language to allow themselves to divert funds to general fund type projects. And then there was that other article that came out about Wall Street. You know, they kind of, in order to get money up front, I don't even know how the whole process works, but yeah, the whole thing is just rife with greed and strange immediate need for a huge influx of cash.
Yep.
And now it's put states at a disadvantage. Not necessarily the lawmakers, but the taxpayers are now paying back on this loan that's going to end up being double, you know, what they actually got up front.
Okay.
So
So
everybody understands the basic idea is there was a financial settlement that the tobacco industry had to pay to the states that collectively, every state, 46 of the states that participated in the Master Settlement Agreement, and that money was taken and invested, and then the state received the profit of it. In other words, the interest or a trickle of that into their general funds. And as it was originally earmarked, there were all of these questions about a mandate for it being for public health. Okay? Always vague and never defined clearly. Knock, you want to pick up from there?
Well, I just wanted to I wanted to remind people that may not know the Master Tobacco Settlement, or Tobacco Master Settlement, gave the National Association of States Attorneys General $1.5 billion divided over a 10-year period. Now, even if your state attorney general did not participate in the settlement, that money was donated to, or was not donated, was paid to the National Association of State Attorney Generals. So every state attorney general benefited in some way, even if your state was one of the independent states or one of the states that didn't participate in the original settlement.
Now, here's the big question. Why? Why was the master settlement handled by the attorney generals?
Because they're the head attorney for every state.
And they broke a law. Tobacco did advertise.
Yes.
They had proven that they had broken these laws. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a couple of facts that I want to throw on the table here. There are cigarette manufacturers that since the master settlement or the master agreement have come into being, and they are not members of it.
Right. Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
So the reason why I want to make sure that fact is there is, and here comes e-cigarettes. We're not a member. No reason to ever put us in there. We never committed the original crime.
Right.
So my question to the state's attorney at this point is, what implications are you making? Okay, are all these wild claims that have been made that we are, that is an industry that we are marketing to kids, or is this starting all over again so that they can rack up a whole brand new master settlement agreement? But the thing is there were laws in place then, but there aren't now. So it's kind of a crazy. I'm not sure where the attorney generals are going. I do know, whereas a voter, I'm offended.
Well, and the other thing is the FDA has already stated that as of right now, they do not have the authority to regulate flavor in this product.
Currently.
So for the state attorney generals to come out and say you have to ban flavors or we want you to do this or that, when the FDA has already stated we don't have the legal authority to do so at this time.
And let's go back to the issue of taxing. In no way, shape, or form does the FDA have the authority to designate taxing.
Nope. They don't have that power. Only the state legislatures have that power.
Exactly.
As a rational adult American, I'm offended by this. Not even a voter. I mean, basically, you know, anybody that lives in those states, your state attorneys just called you stupid. They don't think you're paying attention, and they're counting on it. I mean, it's just a PR thing. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, to me, I think, okay, you ran an election, you made a bunch of promises, you spent millions of dollars to get elected, you have convinced the members of the citizens in your state that you're a credible, valuable person that's going to make and enforce laws or whatever, and you haven't been paying attention. I mean, there's really not much research you have to do to get to that conclusion that you just brought up, Knock, that, you know, this is that the FDA can't regulate flavors, they can't do the taxing. There's certain things that they just can't do at this point. And for, you know, otherwise credible elected officials to come out and say it doesn't go far enough, I mean, this might as well have been written by one of the alphabet groups.
Well, and the other thing is there's some chat in the room. It's not the FDA that has decided that our vaping products are a tobacco product.
Mm-hmm.
That was done by the courts, and you know the Cetera decision.
Hold on. You used the wrong word. That was suggested.
Well, yeah, we are either a medical product or tobacco.
Nope.
We're given no other choice.
No, we are either a tobacco product or something else, because we're not a medical product.
Right.
Yes. So the only other category they had to put us in was that. And I don't know whether there's any legal justification or legal means that they can create a whole new category for us.
Have you guys had a chance to read through some of the AIMSA comment?
I have.
I did not. No, I didn't.
Just, you know, it's massive, so.
Yeah, I got through 16 pages on my phone, so that's about as far as I've been able to sit with it. But I do kind of like the tack that they're taking, which is, you know, when the statute was written, they were clearly talking about, you know, leaf tobacco products.
Yes.
And even applying that to, you know, the definition of made or derived from. I think it's a very interesting strategy that I hope they pay attention to, and I hope that we can kind of rally behind. I don't know where else to go with that, but
There are a number of possibilities, and mind you that we have to use the word possibility because again, no decision has been made as of yet. Remember, the
Right.
purpose of the deeming regulation is to finally make that decision.
Mhm.
Okay, so when the comment made is this is some other form of nicotine product, it is as feasible of the answer as this is tobacco. The only thing that we can say at this point is because of the Sotera decision, this is not a medical device.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, obviously, there are some extreme benefits to our government to making the decision this is tobacco. And I will say very plainly, it's the advantage is to the government, because if it's tobacco, oh, we know how to tax it. If it's tobacco, we know how we can use the current tobacco control regulations to affect the marketing. So there are a number of things that if the deeming regulation goes through and it does designate it as tobacco, the government has a lot of power that it can exercise.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's plenty of places in there that we can wrangle and fight and wrestle and hopefully when it comes time, we'll the industry will be able to use those toeholds to get their foot in the door and blow holes in their arguments. But it's finding them.
And Liquid Sky did ring up again one of the key reasons why, or one of the key reasons why the medical industry does have some input into what we're doing is, yes, they see us as a threat. You can be quite certain that there are individuals who made the choice to not go back to the patch, the gum, or use pharmaceuticals and chose to use this product as a consumer to quit smoking. Not that any of the businesses directed it to.
I thought of a strange thing actually this weekend while I was
Okay.
hanging out with my old friends, and I kind of wonder how common it is actually. We were sitting around talking very late at night, and obviously people were very curious in my e-cig, so that was good. All of my clothes smell like an ashtray now, which is very funny. Because all of my old friends, they still smoke. I kind of thought that a lot of people would have successfully quit by now. I don't know why I thought that. At several points in the conversation, they brought up, oh, yeah, I tried to quit, or yeah, I tried an e-cig, I didn't like it, and blah blah blah. And I, at one point, confessed. I said, I don't know why I thought all of you had quit smoking. I mean, statistically, it wouldn't make sense. So, don't feel too bad about it. You're just like everybody else. This is challenging. But the conversation eventually turned to a couple of my friends sort of describing the very strange ways in which they tried to quit smoking. And some of them involved nicotine replacement therapy. Some of them involved booze and sleep and maybe some prescription medication and a long period of time, only to remain smoke-free for about 24 hours and then relapse. So I kind of thought, wouldn't it be, if people were willing, I think you could submit these stories anonymously, but I'm kind of curious about some of the folk remedies that people have tried, and to see what the successes were, and potentially the kind of more hazardous ways that people have desperately tried to quit smoking. Because we focus a lot on the available pharma products, but there's some strange ways that people have tried to quit smoking, and whether that speaks to the level of desperation or kind of the failures of tobacco control to provide viable alternatives. I don't know exactly where to go with it, but it struck me as a couple of funny stories this weekend.
in all the information that's been coming out through this week, where we've had a lot of the comments, a lot of good information, and we've had some the things with the Attorney General, but otherwise there hasn't been a whole lot of new, fresh information that popped out this week. And one of the things that I was brought to was there was a nicotine conference back at the earlier part of the year, and for those of you people in the room who may follow it, you may recognize the link I'm putting in the room from Clive Bates, who is a UK e-cigarette activist. And this particular video that I put in the room is something I wanted to kind of give you a chance to take a look at, because this doctor is a Dutch doctor, and he, during the nicotine conference, was talking about one of the lead individuals who started the ideas of tobacco harm reduction. And if you go look historically at the evolution of tobacco harm reduction, you'll find something very interesting. There is a difference between how tobacco harm reduction was accepted in the U.S. and how it was looked at in the other parts of the world. Okay? And I'm sure everyone is very aware of an individual on the West Coast that is very vocal in tobacco control, Mr. Stanton Glantz. And when this individual's name was brought up at this conference, you could hear the murmurs in the crowd, because their opinion of the way that he chooses to go about tobacco control is that he has lost his focus. It is now more about the moral high ground of stopping tobacco. Okay? So I'm hoping you'll take a chance to look at this video, because there's some very interesting points in there. And one of the points that the individual brought out was that in the UK, people take a drug for a reason, not always for the reason of better health. In the UK and into the EU, there are some people who indulge themselves in some form because it just simply makes you feel good. It's not illegal to feel good. And kind of the point that he was putting forward was, in the American culture, there's a stigma that's been attached with taking any form of drug if it's not for a medical reason. And our dear friend nicotine, right in that group. So something for you to think about. Alex, care to comment on that? I don't know if you've had a chance to see the video that I'm talking about, or you understand the premise I'm talking about.
I haven't seen the video, but I understand a lot of what you just said. It's difficult for me to make sense of that perspective. You know, just your feelings of goodness and the divine connection are supposed to come from, I don't know, a singular source within you. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Something, don't expose your ankles. It's all very Puritan, just nonsense. You know, and I can't help but say, you know, at one point in this country, alcohol was available by prescription only.
Yep.
That didn't work at all. It was one of the biggest public health disasters we've seen in this country. So, yeah, I just.
Thanks, Knock.
You know, they manage to grab headlines. They're kooky enough that, I don't know, I guess some of the vocal moral minority in the country, I guess they used to be the moral majority. I'm going to butcher that reference, but, you know, there's a lot of that morality waving that happens, and it's, you know, it's a catchy story, and they tend to bring people into their weird cult. Just I don't know, man. I don't know how you can get through your entire life. I know people do it, but I just don't know how you can do it without, uh, engaging in some sort of relatively deviant behavior. I mean, even some of my rock star idols, they're relatively pure to the bone, but they're still making loud rock and roll music. That's a kind of a feel good activity for them, and it's not the most socially acceptable thing. Um, just I don't know, and just as a human, I don't want somebody telling me that I can't. I mean, fuck it. Let's go after coffee too. It just let's go after, I mean they're doing it. Sweet things and fatty foods, all of this stuff is, I understand trying to encourage people to make better diet choices and so that you can be around for your kids. But this was another discussion that came up with my friends this weekend. And another article I think that came out last week about.
I think Mimi's going to lynch you, by the way, because you attack coffee.
I didn't attack it. No, I love coffee. I worship that stuff. No, but back to the thing. There was an article that came out last week, and it was discussing the pleasure principle and how that since a certain date, the FDA or OIRA, I forget which body it is, but they have to factor this in their rulemaking process. And I think you and I had some back and forth, or maybe another Kassav board member and I had some back and forth on it because I was just skimming over the article and I kind of didn't understand. But economists basically reviewed the rule and they showed that it's something about, I think it was related to cigars. It would lose like 80% of its effectiveness because of the amount of enjoyment it would take away from people. And we have this kind of ill-conceived notion as human beings. I don't know if we as a species came up with it, or some guy in a lab came up with it, or some lawmaker came up with it, that longevity, the length of your life is somehow more valuable than the overall quality of your life. Which is to say, I mean, I've met people who have lived more in 30 years than I'm going to live in 70. And hats off to them. They had a blast while they were around. And I think we all know of people who make it to 60, maybe less, 50. We've seen some very talented actors and musicians that they go out before their prime, either because of whatever, they made some weird choices, substance abuse, whatever. But while they were around, they kicked a lot of ass. And then of course there are some other people who managed to kick a lot of ass in their first 30 or 40 years and managed to stick around until they were 80 or 90, and the last 10 to 20 years of their lives have been kind of miserable, or they've gone off in obscurity, and so we have to weigh all that stuff, and I can't, give me a fucking break.
And I mean, when you boil it down, and bringing it back to on topic here, is when you boil it down, for all of the research that's been done, I know but one single study. There's a single study that had some kind of very distant link between nicotine and some form of possible change in lung tissue. One. Okay? Yet, even over in the EU, in the UK, they are seriously looking at therapeutic uses of nicotine in mental health. And I'm sure everyone saw sometime through this last week that even the lowly tobacco plant perhaps has been redeemed by being some form of a vehicle to culture a vaccine for Ebola. So,
I think vaccine might be overstating it.
or not vaccine, or treatment, whatever it is.
just to dial it back, I think
Serum.
the last we heard about it was that the two patients experienced dramatic and remarkable recovery, but they're not necessarily out of the woods. So,
But all I'm saying, everything's got a use.
yeah.
I mean, it may not be the miracle drug that somebody stumbled on like willow bark, but, and for those of you who don't know the reference, that's aspirin. But the fact of it is we still don't know, because as long as we vilify nicotine, as long as the current group vilifies nicotine because it happens to make you feel good, no one's going to take it seriously as a therapeutic drug. And that's
there's
kind of
a lot. There's a lot that goes along with that whole vilification process, and we obviously see it in tobacco control, and this gets into messaging that they send to young people. I understand their goals, but I just don't think that they need to twist things so horribly in order to achieve them. And I'm sorry if people get sick of it, but I'll drag alcoholism back into this. My battle with alcoholism was extended by at least 2 or 3 years because of the social stigma attached to admitting that you have a problem with substance abuse. Obviously, in this day and age, well, I mean, that was 8 years ago, but it's still very much a stigma, and I think it's useful only to the extent that it may prevent some people from initiating abusing substances, smoking, whatever.
I feel personally that society for some reason has taken on this idea that it's either abstinence or abuse. There's no middle ground.
Right.
There's no middle ground in it, and that's not true for many things. I mean, you can go from behaviors to cupcakes. It doesn't matter. Okay? There's always a middle ground, and there's a place where people can be socially happy and functional. Now, there are, of course, those people who don't have that mechanism, who don't know when to quit. And that's what it is. So I was just kind of throwing it out there to let people kind of get an idea. Tobacco control's quit or die. It's a very dangerous way to go. There's got to be. Go ahead.
And it's useful for them because it's an unrealistic approach. I mean, to them, it's kind of like job security. I mean, if that's the message that you're putting out there, and if you get enough people to believe that, if we wrap these people repeatedly across the forehead, and they still don't get it, then they're doomed, and we'll just move on to the next smoke. And that's just the message. Like, they keep talking about these new and innovative ways to combat with the tobacco epidemic, the smoking epidemic. Sorry. And when they say new and innovative, to me that means they're developing an iPhone app. Next year they'll develop something for the Android store. Maybe they'll start using QR codes cleverly. They're going to pay an ad agency to come up with a catchy new slogan, but it all boils down to quit or die, and it's quit or die with different colored lights on it. Yeah.
I mean, for me, if I were a person that was in charge of tobacco control, what would be my goal? Well, my goal would be to see the number of smokers go down. not ever go up. And I would consider that a success. But that doesn't seem to be the way they're thinking, and to me. I mean, just from what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing that as their goal. Because if it was, it seems that they would be very willing to accept other products.
Yeah, or at least do some basic self-assessment and look at the actual returns on their campaigns, which have leveled off.
I agree with you there. Let's see. Well, we've been a little bit on a tangent, and I know Knock's been following the chat. Did we miss anything, Knock?
No, not really. We just there was some discussion in the chat. Schmo was interested to find out any information that we could give him that verified that there was any harm in vaping. And we have tons of scientific data that shows that there is, very minor amounts of toxins and stuff, but if there's any toxin, then it does not prove that it is harmless.
Correct.
So we have to be excessively careful. The science does back that there is harm. No matter how minuscule it is still harm. So that's why we always say less harmful instead of saying harmless.
And we're not the only people that live under that particular. I mean, there's not a lot of people who can clearly say that alcohol is harmless.
Well, no, because there's definitely scientific evidence that proves that it is not harmless.
True.
We would never stand up to scientific scrutiny when it comes to saying harmless, but we can definitely stand up to scientific scrutiny when we say less harmful.
Yes.
And if I could just reiterate a point there, I don't know how far this has been beaten into the ground, but the reason that we do that, I know that, it's very easy in a kind of a colloquial way, or maybe a very common way, to say that, this appears safe to me, or I know that it is so much less harmful that I might as well call it safe, or I kind of imagine myself in a conversation with a friend, and I want to describe it to them as, their obvious question is, is it better than smoking? Is it safe? And I'm just like, basically yes, but I have to keep myself in check when I say that, because we are holding ourselves to a higher standard than the antis. The antis are willing to take what you brought up, Knock, about the minuscule, the trace amounts of toxic compounds and so on that are in there, and blow it way out of proportion and say that it's, this little bit of formaldehyde is going to eat all of these kindergartners. That's hyperbole, and they're grabbing headlines with it. But we're not going to reduce ourselves to that bullshit, and it makes our case stronger in the long run.
Now, earlier I posted an article that was kind of along the lines of what Joe was saying when I posted it, but we're way off of that now. But it is an interesting read, and it's essentially characterizing the people that are against us. And it's definitely something that everybody should read, so I'm not going to go into it. We went into it in good detail on the radio show, but at the time that Joe was talking, it actually fit quite well with what he was saying.
Yeah.
Where has the time gone?
Well, it just goes away. We get we get going, and it just kind of goes. It's fine. It's all good. So we're in our last 10 minutes. Let me do a quick rundown again. If you're viewing, we will not be airing next week. We will not be airing next week. Robin and myself will be in Atlanta at Vapapalooza, and Knock. And are you going, or is it somebody else from CASA?
I'm going.
You're going.
Julia, both Julie and I are going to be down there.
So Julie and Alex are going to be in San Antonio, at Vape Blast. So don't miss your chance to go see Alex in person. We'll be selling tickets so you can make fun of him. I mean, we'll be. You wouldn't put it fastest. You've already been to one show with us.
I had a blast. I don't care if you want to come make fun of me. That's great.
We're gonna get some good barbecue while we're in San Antonio.
So, but please, if you're in the San Antonio area and you can make it, go out, check out Vape Blast. If you are in the Atlanta area, come on up to Vapapalooza and say hi.
Yeah.
We'll be there. Very exciting. 2 weeks from that, Robin will be in North Carolina. It's still in the air if I'll be there, but we'll find out sooner or later.
Yeah, but I'll be there.
Do you know if Kasai's going to be down at Vape Mania?
It didn't. I don't think it's on the cards.
Okay, and then just going a little bit more in the future, November time frame, we're going to be in the Wichita area. Also down at Vape Summit, we've been invited to come down there, and the Phoenix Vape Blast, we've been invited to come there. So plenty of good times for you guys to be able to come out and visit. And if you have any questions, be more than glad to answer your questions while you're there.
Don't forget Ann Arbor.
Oh, Ann Arbor, October.
Yeah, really.
Wait, I forgot 2 of them. That's bad. So first part of October, VCC Tennessee, and same time as that's going on, Ann Arbor, the Vape Expo here in Michigan. I say here in Michigan, everybody gets to come, and they're sending me away. I'm just going to say it. Just the way it is.
We'll be there without you.
We are all still, I think, trying to hash out the details on ECC.
And ECC is a possibility too. There's a couple of things in the works on ECC. So
just so everybody knows, we are working on that this year, and it's, hopefully things come together.
And all of these great chances are a chance for you guys to meet us and in person and come in and introduce your friends to the concepts and to the things that are there. I do want to mention that at VCC Tennessee, there will be an hour-long roundtable discussion that will be there that was held similar to the one that was held in Massachusetts, and it is a spine-tingling good time.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
It was a real good time. So, 8 minutes closing thoughts. Robin, you have anything?
No.
Knock, anything to cover? Vaping Militia Radio is on when?
Friday night.
We won't be there this Friday, though.
Oh, no, we're not going to be there this Friday because me and Robin are not going to be home. But normally, it is at 11 p.m. Eastern on SoundCloud and
Eastern Standard Time.
Oh no, not SoundCloud. What is that called?
I thought it was SoundCloud.
MixLR. No, SoundCloud's where we host the recordings.
Ah.
MixLR, and on our website we have a chat there and a Vaping Militia tab for that. We've done 5 shows. The last 2 shows will be posted as soon as we get them up. Because I think that even though our show this past Friday was very timely and it had to do with regulation, there are some things on there that people should listen to. Maybe I should reiterate the local issues that are coming up. There's a lot in Massachusetts, so you guys in Massachusetts need to keep your ears to the city council doors, looking at your billboards, checking out the websites, because if there's 3 going on in Massachusetts right now, that means that there's probably more, because the neighboring cities always like to follow suit.
Culver City, California.
Baltimore, Carlsbad, New Mexico, and this one in Baltimore in October. Really, this should be one of the biggest opportunities we have to respond. And then, just going back to the other stuff, you guys need
Tupelo,
to...
Mississippi is Monday also.
Oh, yeah. Well,
okay.
I'm glad that we have people on the ground there, because that could be another big win for us if we can get people to respond and be respectful when they go to their city council.
And keep in mind, if you are going to go down and attend any of these, we suggest the following things very strongly, and that is, it's their house. Dress for success. Don't go in. Don't go in your favorite T-shirt and cut off blue jeans. It's their house. Come on in, get in there and make a good showing, and leave your battery in the damn car.
Yeah, do not try to vape in front of your city council, please.
They really don't want to know what it looks like. If they do, they'll ask you afterwards. Okay. Alex, any last details?
Stay tuned, Kazaa. We've got more FDA stuff coming. And also, just you guys are doing a great job with the local stuff, and I am very excited to defer to you in the future.
Oh, gee, thanks. I read between the lines on that one. Yeah, it's yours. Deal with it. Anyway.
But no, I hope that we will have enough free time to collaborate with you guys. It's not without support. So, but just know the Vaping Militia is keeping it real.
Well, I do want to say that it has been a very incredible week. One of the very good things about as the looming deadline got here, a lot of the advocacy groups are now working in a similar fashion, and that's something that's been long overdue, and I really like that idea. A lot of good communication going back and forth. Guys, don't give up. Just because we submitted the comments, it's not over. There's still a very, very long road ahead. Once this goes through, it's going to take them a while to get a piece of paper out. That piece of paper, I don't have a crystal ball. Could be 3 months. Could be a year and a half. Pick a date somewhere in the middle. Okay. When it gets out there, don't worry about it. People are going to jump up. There's going to be litigation, and I'm quite sure that Congress is going to have to intervene somewhere along the line to even say, yeah, this can continue, or this is not going to be able to continue. So all these things are still ahead of us. So just because the comment period's over, it does not mean it's time to fold up the umbrellas and run home. So, well, I kind of closed out early, didn't I? Still got 3 minutes. Any last questions from the chat room? Tags up. Thank you very much, Rooster. Phoenix convention this month. We're already full, Smo. Phoenix. We won't be in Phoenix until
It's the end of October, isn't it?
end of October. Yeah, end of October. Elf, you always have questions, brother.
Elf. Oh, Elf.
Tags up. Oops. Customary tags up. Grab them off the lamp.
You missed the first one, Joe.
Yes, this is the second.
Was I running my mouth?
Yeah.
Excused.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep in mind, plenty of studies at the Vaping Militia website. Blogs updated daily, hourly, minutely. You never know when something new is going to come up there. If you haven't got your tags yet, toss the $30 in. Join us. We'll be more than glad to keep going. Yeah, August, it'll be hot there. Okay. Well, we're going to leave a couple of minutes early. Everybody have a great weekend and stay safe. We will see you back in 2 weeks. Thank you very much for joining us.